What's up, buddy? How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Sorry, I was trying to get this going.
No, I get it. Just in case I'm saying. So say hi before, man.
He's in his gotta fix it mode.
See it.
Make sure the audio is working.
Where's the link bit?
How you doing?
Never mind.
She also came to the conference. She also came to the conference. Yeah, it's so great. Yeah. 2 days.
Great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Did you have a conference out in here?
Test, test.
Yeah.
Because she's got something else to do. In fact, she'll be probably our last lunch that we have in Vegas. Right away, but within about a year and a half. Either be a practitioner or be a healer or a healer. And then also a school or neurodivergent parents, no matter what the age of the child
That's all there is to go to say, George. Yeah, I'm sure you're really like here. That's right. Makes me friends with people. I think I'm so scared.
Are we doing it now?
Are we going to Target again?
Not as good a target for me.
Yeah, that's good. It sounds.
We all did.
We did too. Okay, see, we're not possible. Yes. Especially without kids. It's fun. It's actually. Oh. Hi, guys.
What's up, guys?
Like, get over it. Like, thanks, you know. There's no way back. It's good. No, let's go. You'll bring some.
Yeah, that's what my company got there. They said. Oh, yeah? Last year.
Most were in Jersey. You go out Oh, there it is. Probably. Yeah.
That's not a time for yeah. Anybody need a baby water? Baby water? Promise, if I need it, if I want it. Anybody else? Waters, anybody? Okay. Okay, well, let's get started. You're here for a reason. Okay, I'm online. Okay, it's live. It's very crude. Thanks. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I put together this event with Vinney, and I had no idea what to expect when I put it together. So thank you so much for coming. We are going to take a few minutes and let Integrated Health Centers take a minute because they were so generous and allowed us to use this space for free. And it all happened divinely through our friend Kristen here. And she was an angel, invited me to come tour the space with her. And it just all happened. So, I mean, angels have helped put this event together. So we'll just take a minute and let him share what they do here and thank him for letting us host here. Oh, it's got on
It
me.
caught you. There you go. Welcome. We're so glad to host this event today at Integrated Healing Centers. We are a new intensive outpatient clinic here in St. George, and have really are focusing on some very specific challenges that we feel like are getting worse and worse in the community, that of anxiety, depression, and trauma. And we're taking a very different approach here at Integrated. We are really believers that in order to overcome some of these challenges, you have to put things into action. And not only in the sense of doing something different, but even moving into things like competency. So if you look at the space, you'll notice that there's a lot of things that we do. If you go downstairs, so we have the downstairs level as well. And we have a full ceramic studio. We do artisan bread making and artisan pizza making by hand. We do art therapy. Up here, we do yoga, breath work, meditation, mindfulness. The idea is to get outside of the traditional talk therapy and into some more action-oriented elements. We truly believe that as we get into creativity, things like anxiety disappear. In fact, the neuroscience is amazing that we're finding more and more that anxiety and creativity cannot live in the brain at the same time. And so as we engage the physical piece and we start to develop competency, the brain starts to take over and we start to gain skills to actually do things differently on a day-to-day basis. So that's really the philosophical underpinnings. Obviously, there's a lot to that. By intensive outpatient, it's typically a 3-hour a day, 3 to 5 days a week for about 45 to 60 clinical days. And so it's about a 3-month process, 5 days a week for clients to go through. And it really is an opportunity to kind of stay in your normal day-to-day lifestyle, but get some intensive therapeutic help. We work with 13-year-olds up to 99-year-olds. So we have groups for both adolescents, young adults, and then adults. But with that, we're very grateful to have you here. Just a few little things. Bathrooms are in the hallway. So if you need to sneak out, you can just head down the hallway and they're just here to the left. And then, of course, waters are available if you need them back there. Yeah, question?
Do you accept insurance?
We do, yes. So we're working on getting all of the insurance panels done, but we've got several that are already completed. So we are an insurance-based program. That's the model. So, any other questions about what we're doing here? It's a super exciting, very, very different. We opened 3 months ago. So we are as new as that comes, but we're finding some great success already. Just had a group of adolescents graduate that are doing well and are engaged in making changes in their lives. So if you do have questions, Chad, our admissions and business development individual, will be here just at the end of the session. There's some brochures on the table here. And if anybody ever wants to just swing by and see the space, see what we're doing, please don't hesitate. Just come on in and we'll give you a tour. We'll talk about how we're going about really changing the therapeutic models that are out there. We're super excited about it. So with that, we'll turn the time back over to Alyssa.
Just for a second.
Just mute.
So yes, I just want to say thank you again, because this space really truly aligns with, just getting better and healing, and all of this is about healing. So thank you again to Integrated Healing. I want to correct myself. I said Kristen. I meant Kirsten. So I apologize for that. I have to correct myself. So how this is going to work, we need to capture audio for our online folks. So I do need you to use this mic when you ask a question. Feel free to just raise your hand. Vinney
I
will.
could repeat it too.
You
I
could
just
repeat it.
repeat it.
Yeah, you could repeat it. But if I can, I'll bring the mic to you and just have you hold it. And then you just kind of call on people as we do this, unless you have a better way you want to do it.
Yeah.
But
Good. Either way. Good. Whatever way.
yeah, this is Vinney, you guys. I'm so excited he was able to come into town. His story changed my life. And it's been a series of just miraculous event after miraculous event since finding his story, since his story was a gift to me from the other side. So I will just turn the time over to you and let you take it. Maybe just share a few minutes, because I know there's a couple people in the room who haven't read the book yet. maybe just take a few minutes, kind of share a very brief.
Okay. I don't know if
about
there's
your-
such thing
it's
as
not,
me
it's
brief.
not
so-
brief, but yeah, go ahead. We'll let you take it.
Well,
Vinny.
I'm grateful to be here speaking with you guys today. Who in here, by a raise of hand, who in here who knows my story? They've heard it already. So probably about half. Okay, so I will share my story. If we're right there on the line where I'd say no. But my story, it starts back in 2003. I was an amateur bodybuilder. I was a part-time TV movie producer as well as a home builder. So had a lot of things going on in my world, and this bodybuilding thing was something that took a lot of my attention and my energy. And there was a product at the time that was really quite hot. Like a lot of people wanted it. There was a 6-month back order at GNC. Just all the vitamin places you had to wait 6 months to get your order. And so we went online, me and a buddy of mine. We ordered some from Thailand. And funny thing is, I'd lived in Thailand before, but I couldn't read the writing because it's a script. So we get this bottle, and we took our normal dose, which was, a liquid bottle cap, took our liquid bottle cap, and right away we knew something was wrong because I felt like ice cold moving from my chest down my body. But being 25 and thinking you're invincible, I thought, let's just go down to Dairy Queen and get something to eat, and that'll make us feel better. So we went down to a Dairy Queen, and I barely made it into the Dairy Queen. And I made it into the bathroom, and it was a single-use bathroom, so I locked the door out of habit. And right there, I passed out, and I aspirated. To me, from my experience, that's when it truly begins, is I went from being, here in this body. It looked a little different back then. But being here in this body, and all of a sudden, I felt like I was sitting in a theater. And it's the weirdest thing. I felt like I was sitting in a dark theater with a movie screen far, far away, and it was slowly moving closer and closer and closer to me. And as the picture on the screen cleared, I saw this body laying on the ground, and it was covered with vomit. And I didn't think even for a second that it could be me. All I could think was, why did the director film this from up above? That's all I could think. And, pulling from my history with that. And I'm sitting there trying to understand, there's creative and artsy ways of filming things. Why would this guy film from up above? It just doesn't make sense. But I could feel connected to the scene. I could feel that I felt sad for whoever that was. But I also noticed that I could hear the voices of everyone in the restaurant, from the cook, the manager, the assistant manager, another worker, some customers that were there. I could hear every thought that they had. And there again, I go, why would the director do this? Like, why would we be hearing everyone's thoughts? Well, finally I get over that, and I look, and on the first booth as you enter the Dairy Queen, I saw my buddy who had come with me. He was passed out, and he had vomited all over this table. And the manager was coming over and directing his assistant to call 911 to get emergency services there. They got him, and he ended up being okay. They pumped his stomach, kept him overnight in a hospital, but he ended up being okay. But with me, they didn't know there was two of us. They thought it was just the one. And it wasn't until later they discovered me in the bathroom. And the way that happened is there was a customer that kept trying to go to the restroom, and he tried for a good 45 minutes. and he had to go really bad. So finally, he went to the manager and said, "Hey, can you open that bathroom? I think it's locked by mistake." And so the manager went in there, unlocked it to see this dead body on the ground. And I could feel just the angst that this manager had in finding that. And him thinking like, why am I even working here? What is this? Why is this all happening at once? They did call 911 and for a second time that day. And he coached his assistant manager on checking for signs of life. The body had started to turn cold by then. And as soon as they described it as it feels cold, then the 911 operator said, secure the bathroom, don't let anyone in there. Police and medics are coming. And it was a short time after that, it's about another 5 or so minutes after that, a second ambulance team shows up. But this ambulance team, it has a third man, and he's a rookie. It was his first week out of whatever training EMTs do. And he's just kind of like a shadow or a ride along with this crew. Well, as soon as he sees this body, he sees them only work on it for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and then they pronounce death. And they went and got a body bag, they bagged the body, they put it in the back of the ambulance. And this whole time, I'm just feeling bad for this rookie because he's having thoughts like, why am I even doing this? Why am I doing this if we're not going to try harder? He felt like they didn't try hard enough. And he just kept that feeling as they put the body in the back of the ambulance. They went and collected witness statements from a few witnesses in the restaurant, as well as the manager and assistant manager. And while this is all going, I can't stop focusing on this rookie. And my attention keeps going to him rather than anything else in the scene and situation. And I watch them leave the scene. And as they're leaving the scene, he really starts to berate himself in his mind, like, we really should be doing more. We've got to do more for this one. And what he ends up doing is he ends up breaking protocol. He unzips the body bag and he goes in to feel for a sign of life and doesn't feel one, but he goes further into other parts of the body to feel for a sign of life. And what he felt was like a spark. And to him, I met with him later so he could describe it, his version. And he said he just knew there was something different about this situation. And so the first miracle is, even though everything is saying this guy's dead, he went ahead and hooked up a defib on the body, shocked it with no result the first time, a single heartbeat with the second shock, and then with the third shock, steady heartbeat. It was faint, but it was steady. And now I was invested in this movie. I was like, this is good. This is really getting good. And I watched as they this happened actually in Utah, up in Orem, and it happened right by Timpanogos Hospital. There used to be a Dairy Queen just down the street there. And so when the heart started, they were just only a few feet from Timpanogos Hospital. So they were able to go directly into Timpanogos and check the body in and start working on it, bringing all the systems that needed attention. Well, while they were working on this body, they had to transfer it off of the EMT or gurney into the hospital gurney. And as they did that, the body started to go into seizures, like full on, just very horrendous seizures. And I watched and I just felt so bad for whoever that guy was. I just felt so bad, like, what's going on with him? And finally, I'm starting to respect this movie because I'm like, this is really realistic. And they went to strap the body down. And when they went to strap the left arm, I felt someone strap my left arm in the movie theater where I was watching this. And I looked down and I could see the strap from the body on my arm. And I was a real strong guy. I actually broke the strap because I was like fighting what was going on. And, another attendant came and got a big leg strap and did it around the arm and strapped it down. At that time, I finally had the first realization that everything that I've been watching was my own death. And it doesn't make sense, I know, because we think we are going to know when we die. But for me, I truly didn't. To me, I equate it to the same as if I was out there on that street and I see a car that looks the same as my car, and I see someone driving it that looks just like me, but I'm like, I'm over here driving. I'm not in that car. And that's the only way I can describe it here, is that's what I felt. I'm like, that can't be me. And when I saw that strap, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that what I just watched was my own death and my resuscitation, my coming back. Well, as they were working on the body, fear just started to pour into me. And I had all sorts of thoughts like, how could you be so dumb to not know you're watching your own death? And on paper, from the time they pronounced death and the time the heart was started was 47 minutes. And likely an hour before that of actual death. And how could I be so dumb to not know that that was me? I mean, they're wearing the same clothes, come on. But it didn't look like me, it didn't. It looked foreign to me because me was here, me was over here. And as I went through that part of the fear, it started to pour in and almost smother me when I started to see every bad thing that I ever did in my life. And I don't care if I was 2 years old and I did something naughty, I saw it. Even mischievous, I saw it. And in a kind of a harsh way, but also a beautiful way, I saw it from whoever I was being naughty to, as well as the action that I was taking. And I fast forward through very quickly 25 years of that. And I had this thought, why do I exist? Why do I exist if this is all I am? Is a bunch of naughty things. Why do I exist? And as soon as I had that thought, it felt like the sun came out from behind a cloud and it just started warming my back. And that warmth, it felt almost like even deeper than a sunshine. It felt like a loving grandparent, just like, caressing your back. And as I felt that warmth come over me, it spread. And then I saw every good thing I ever did. And to me, that movie was a lot longer than the first movie, I got to see a lot of good things. So I had done a lot of good, and I got to see them from the perspective of someone witnessing those good things. And I also saw that when I was a child, I would go and say something kind to someone, and I didn't know they needed to hear it. And that a lot of children do that, actually. It's like, we don't realize we're doing good when we're doing good sometimes. I got to see all of that. And I could just, again, feel this warmth, like pummeling my back. And so I turned around. I stopped looking at my whole kind of life sequence. And I turned around. And as I turn around, I see this man all dressed in white, just white everything. He was wearing like a white suit, but he had like a stole or a robe that went over his shoulders. And I just thought, this has to be God. And as soon as I had that thought, I felt him answer me without using his mouth. He just used his thoughts. He said, "No, son, I'm not God." And growing up, I thought, well, if you're not God, are you Christ? And as soon as I had that thought, he goes, no, son, I'm not Christ. And he said, I'm here to be your guide. You can call me Drake. I'm here to help you go wherever you want to go. Anywhere in the universe you want to go, I'm going to help you go there. And as soon as he said that, I couldn't think of really anything other than that love I was feeling, that all permeating love. And so I asked him, can I go towards that love? And he got really excited. He's all, that's our home. That's your home. That's my home. I can take you home. And, just before that, he did say, I could take you back to your body. And right when he had said that, I looked at the body, and there was somebody straddling the body and like jamming a syringe directly into the chest. And the body was covered with just so many gross colors and things. And I knew for sure I didn't want that. I knew I wanted to go with him to our home. So we started this journey. And, I was a little overconfident, or actually a lot overconfident. I thought for sure growing up religious that there was some like special VIP door for for us religious folks, and there wasn't. He kind of lovingly laughed with me about it, though. He said, I love that you think that's how it is. And he says, it's just a little bit different than that, but I want to help take you there. And to help take you there, you don't have to believe what I teach you. You just have to believe it's possible. Like I just can't full reject what he was teaching me. And if I could do that, he could help get me to the right frequency so I could be in our home. Because it is just a much higher energy in that space. And I know it now, but if you would even bring a blade of grass from there here, this universe would just explode. Because there's more energy in a blade of grass there than there is in the entire solar system here. There's just so much energy there. So he had to help me get my energy up to this much higher frequency so that I could get into synchronization with home. So the first thing I won't go through all 10 things he taught me, because that'll take an hour in itself. And I want to do some questions with y'all. But the first thing he taught me is, number one, that authenticity is the most important thing for us here. Because if we can't find who we really are, then we can't actually build love. And building love is by giving love and receiving love both. And we can't truly do that and actually receive the love unless we are authentic. And, an observation of mine is that when we're under 5 years old or over 85 years old, that's our most authentic space right there. And that for us to grow the most, it would be ideal if we could stay in that authentic way for our whole lives. But Drake showed me that in my life, where I thought I was authentic, he showed me that I do have masks that I was putting on myself with all these different people in my world. I had a mask for my family. I had a mask for coworkers. I had a mask for this job, for that job, for TV sets. I had different masks I would wear. And I didn't consciously put those masks on, but I would subconsciously put them on myself and become who I thought everyone wanted to be there. And so Drake helped me take all those masks off and realize that inside all those different personas, there was this 5-year-old little boy. And that if I could connect to my inner self there, then we could go to the next step. And that next step was to understand why we're even here. And he asked me that. he said, Vinney, do you know why you're here? Why you came to earth? And I said, of course I do. This is where we get sorted. We get, whether we're wheat or we're tares, we get judged. We, either save or throw away, just like in Wonka's chocolate factory, a good nut or a bad nut. Like, I really believe that. To my soul, I believe that. And he just smiled at me with so much love. And he said, I love that you think that. But it's a little different. It's a little different than we're here to be sorted, saved, or thrown away. And that he showed me that a lot of our kind of earning to be on earth happened long before we came here. And that earth is more of a playground. Earth is a school where we learn to use what we came here with. And that we're not here to be judged. In fact, we're here to learn how to not judge. That's a big one. We're here to learn how to love the way our Creator loves us. And that all of heaven, they look at us as a divine masterwork, all of us. They praise us, they love us, they support us wholeheartedly in all that we're doing, and they want us to learn how to love. But we have to do it without remembering where we came from. And that's the hard part. Jake showed me that, when we were in our home originally, we're so close to our Creator that anything our Creator wanted, we wanted. We were in complete synchronization with our Creator. And that we couldn't separate our own desire from God at all. And our Creator, being loving, really wanted us to have that ability to have our own choice, have our own abilities, and learn to grow. And just like a child, they have to move out of home to be able to grow up. And it's no different. We chose to come here to the sandbox to play, to build sandcastles, to tear them down, to build relationships, to learn how to love. And that this is much more a reward than a test. And that boggled my mind. I had never even thought in any fraction of that was possible. And Drake helped me understand that as he continued to teach me, 8 more principles. And by the time I'd gotten to that last principle, which is to me as authentic or as important as authenticity, and that is to love everyone, to love all things. And that for us to have a relationship with our Creator, we can't love our Creator 98% or 90% or 50%. We have to love all of the Creator. And that includes the other creations. And loving everyone is a foundational part for our growth as individuals, but also as a family. It's vital for us. So I was, making my way through all this. And I was accepting that it was possible. I didn't have to fully integrate or bring within my being all the teachings he was giving me. And as we got through that 10th principle, I started to see this beautiful space just full of light. Sorry, when you talk like this, your mouth gets really dry, especially in front of a bunch of people. As we got through that principle, I could see this far off light, and it kept getting closer and closer and closer. And as it got closer, I could see it looked almost like an odd-shaped planet with a really wide belt around it, as if almost like a Saturn, but it had a really wide belt. Saturn has that like pencil line belt around it, and it goes wide. but the width was more like this instead of like that. As I got closer and closer and closer, I saw that that belt was actually like a cloud, but a huge cloud going around the whole thing. As I got closer and closer and closer, that cloud was made of these just huge pearls. And they were pearls, I call them pearls because they look like pearls. But they had liquid light in them. And as we got closer and closer, I just intriguingly had a thought, like, what is this? What am I even seeing? Because I was looking for, a bunch of clouds, guy with a long beard, hanging out with my ancestors, waiting for me. And I wasn't seeing that yet. And so I wanted to know what these big pearls were. And so Drake showed me with just a flicker, he brought my consciousness into one of these pearls. And these pearls, they act as like rehabilitation for our souls. And sometimes on this earth, we end up getting a lot of mud on our soul. And these pearls act as a cleaning space. But we can't let go of the mud until we're ready to let go of the mud. And so he showed me two particular individuals, a man and a woman, who were completely different times. One was probably from like the late 1800s, and the other maybe a few decades after that. But I could see that these two individuals were struggling with betrayal. And it wasn't until the man first, he finally expelled all the angry words he had towards his son of betrayal, that he realized even where he was. Because in his mind, he was seeing like the face of his son while he was, just spouting and getting rid of all the negative energy. And these pearls, they work just like almost like a spa or a detox or rehabilitation, strictly for our souls. They help us release the trauma here, because we can't get into that high love vibration while carrying anything but love. So some of us, we still have some of that mud on us. And as soon as I understood that, it was all of a sudden the clouds were past and we were actually approaching this space. I could see this beautiful mountain grove, and it had a hill with a little, like almost like a little lake and a little river or creek. And I could feel so much excitement in me. And I couldn't remember coming from there. I could only know as I got closer and closer that I was more excited than I'd ever been in my whole life. And as soon as my feet came down and touched the grass there, I felt like I got plugged into my charger. I felt like this was the charger I was waiting for my whole life. And I was feeling my soul finally get the charge that it was looking for here, everywhere, in everything. And I felt the most unconditional love. I could feel every blade of grass had an individual consciousness, and that it was in love with me. And me being me, I was like, I'm not worth that. Why me? And I kept getting the same pulse of information from the grass. Because you're you. Because you're a creation of the Creator. You're a divine masterwork. And there's no way, by earthly standards, I'm a divine masterwork. But I could feel that this was something for all of us. I could know it when I could feel that love. And the grass itself, I love that where we're speaking here, we've got some wild grass out there that I can look at. But the grass itself had millions of colors that we don't have here. And that each blade of grass had an aroma different from the other. And each blade of grass had, it felt like a music coming off of it, like a loving frequency. And again, there I'm witnessing something that the earth doesn't have. There's no words that I can use in the English language that can truly describe this grass. The only thing I can do is describe it with English to let you know that this single blade of grass, one at a time, if we could all connect to one of these blades of grass, we would never do half the things we do on this planet. It's so full of love and so unconditional, no matter what I've ever done. And I'm getting a little freaked out about this grass. I'm just loving it so much. And Drake, he's just like sitting back there, just like waiting, smiling. And he goes, "If you like the grass, you should see the flowers." And as soon as he said that, I was like, "There's flowers? What?" And so as soon as I had that thought, there's flowers, I got so excited. He took my consciousness and he put it on a flower. And I could see in the flower itself liquid light, like moving around in each petal, each part of its being. And I could feel that the flower loved me the same way that the grass did. And, later he showed me the trees, and I freaked out about the trees. And then I felt a touch on my toe. And on my toe, I looked down, and I could see water. Water had come up out of the little creek and had approached my foot and was touching my toe. And as soon as it touched my toe, and I noticed it, it asked, "Do you want us on you?" And I was gung-ho about any part of this. I wanted every part that God was willing to give me. So I said, yes, I want you on me. So the water came up my right foot first, and then it came up my left foot, and it just started encapsulating my body. But I didn't feel wet, like it was not wet. It felt warm, but also cool. And I could feel it doing something with my energetic body. I could feel it changing things in good ways. I had a pretty rough upbringing, and definitely not ideal. And I carried on me that trauma, and I would find places like fights or rugby games or places to channel that anger, and I would actually act out violence in places where it was okay. And that was my way of channeling just the horrible childhood I had. And this water, as it came up over me, I felt it healing all of that, all of it. And beyond that, it helped me know that who I thought was my villains were actually volunteers that I had arranged.
Does the water feel like it has a spirit?
Yes.
It was like a
Every molecule has its own in the water.
spirit?
Yeah, and it's almost like a team of attending angels. That's what it feels like, the water. But as it got up to my head and completed itself over my body, it had done what it needed to do and just started going back down and went back over to my right, over to the little creek. And it's really funny. I did not notice a building necessarily until the water had done this. And then I saw over to my left, over at the top of this like little hill, there was this huge, beautiful building. And I was a builder, so I was going to go have a freak out about the building because I love, construction and fine craftsmanship. And as I motioned to go do that, I was observing a lot just in that little bit. And I could talk truly for an hour or two just about what I observed right there. But as I made that motion, Drake came over to me and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Vinney, this is going to be really hard, but it's going to be worth it." And he wrapped me in with just the biggest bear hug. And I could feel the love that my Creator had for me as an individual and as a whole through that hug. And I felt these pulses of energy coming off of the two of us as we hugged. And I felt the most serene and supreme peace. Something that, I've strived for here, but it's something that, again, words cannot describe it. And as I was just enjoying and appreciating this amazing hug from heaven, from Drake, I then started to hear in my ear, I heard my brother on earth saying a prayer over my body. And he commanded my body to be made whole. He commanded my soul to return to my body. And from my experience, when he said amen, I felt a jerk out of that space. And I felt ripped. I felt torn out of the heavenly space. And I was taken back to the earth space where unknowingly my body had been brain dead for 3 days. And so I woke up. I went in the hospital. They found me dead January 18th. I woke up January 21st. And I was the miracle. And I didn't feel like a miracle. I felt cursed. I didn't know why I felt cursed. I actually didn't remember my experience yet. And it wasn't until the day after that when I was asked, did you have an experience? I went to say no, and all of it came out of me. And then the next about 2 months, I had the hardest 2 months of my entire existence. Harder than the worst abuse I ever had. Because I now remembered what's next for us, and I wanted to go. It was the weirdest thing. The only thing that would make me feel better is go running or pack a bag. Because if I was packing a bag, it'd be to go home, even though I was in my home. And those were the only two things that made me feel even a little bit better. And I'm really having a hard time with all this. And I keep hearing Drake, which he didn't go away. Heaven went away, but Drake didn't go away. He kept talking to me every day. He kept reminding me. He was almost like a Jiminy Cricket type energy at that point. He kept reminding me like, no, we're not driving off of Squaw Peak. You gotta, do what you're supposed to do. And it was really neat. I finally found release when I met my Andrea. My Andrea, who's my wife, I saw in her eyes, I actually could see the energy of heaven for the first time. And she encouraged me to do life differently than how I was doing it. Very family driven, very family centered instead of, ego or career driven. And that was different, no judgment on either path, but she ignited that in me, that family was really important. And I'm glad she did, because making family a priority for me, only about 4 months after I met her, she made me go to my family reunion in a little town of Wyoming called Star Valley, or Afton, Wyoming. And I'm sitting there bored because it's a family reunion, and we're watching a high school play, and the play is talking about the history of the town, and up comes a picture of Drake. And I lost it. I couldn't speak. Andrea knew. She knew, even though she never saw him, she could feel, she knew his countenance, because we had talked so much about him. But it said his name was Charles, not Drake. And that bugged me. I'm like, why? How would I get the name wrong? I had this life-changing experience with him. But I noticed his last name was the same as my grandmother. So we went directly from that play straight to my grandmother's house, which thankfully was only about a 2-minute drive. It was only a mile and a half or 2 miles from the high school. I come bursting into my grandmother's house, and I go, Grandma, tell me about this Charles Kazare. I know who he is. I know who he is. Who is he to you? And her answer was, you mean great-grandpa Drake? And the beautiful part was, on all official records, it said his name was Charles. But it always gave a D initial for the middle name. Nowhere wasn't recorded as Drake. He had a lot of official capacities, but family would call him Drake, and all of his work friends would call him Charles. Even his church friends would call him Charles. So only family would call him Drake. And it was just this supreme confirmation. And, in a way, I now knew I wasn't crazy, but I also knew I was crazy because of all this happening. And now it was like confirmed. Well, fast forward, I've had 22 years. 22 years. Come this January, it'll be 23 years of life since then. And a lot of gifts have opened up because of the experience, but only when I embraced the experience and the learning lessons there were for me. For more than 5 years, I tried to run from it and just go into a career. And I never could do it. I had to keep coming back to the experience and listen to Drake and listen to others. And, heaven is really close to us. We don't realize that in this very room, thousands of spirits besides us. And that everywhere we go, everywhere that God's divine masterworks go, there is a whole team of spirits that are there to try to help us, even to help us think more positively or feel God's love better. And, they really want to help us. But they can only do it when we enroll heaven, when we say a prayer or a meditation or we reach out for heaven's assistance, and then they can. And it's been an amazing 22 years, but it's also been really hard when you know where I get to go next. I do celebrate every plane turbulence that I get because you never know. Yeah. But I'm not skydiving without a parachute. I'm keeping my feet on the ground. And, it was a few years ago, God recruited me some brothers. And from that, we were able to write my story, my experience. And I don't write it to be some kind of gospel for anybody. I only write it to share what it did for me. And if it can have a positive impact on you, great. I feel like we need as many resources as possible to remind us who we really are, why we're here, and the opportunity that we wake up to every single day. And that opportunity is to love. And it really does come down to love. Because it's that love that gave us the ability to get here. And it's that love that will allow us to tap into our heavenly realm inside our temples. And that's my story. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you ever see any other ancestors while you were there besides you?
So you just asked, did I see it? So I'm going to repeat it for the online audience. Did I see any ancestors while I was there besides Drake? not that I knew. One particular individual I've come to really connect to strongly, to a point where it's a daily connection. In fact, I can't have even 1 second without being connected to this individual, and that's an angel. So I didn't know. I mean, I was one of the schools of there's no angels, in my old days, but there is angels, and they're connected to us. They're our family. Our ancestors are angels, but also there's angels. And other than that, though, no, I didn't see, other than generally speaking, brothers and sisters universally. There was, in the heavenly space, that little glimpse I got to see of that building, I saw people from like our ancient past by just what they were seeing themselves wear. Because if you wearing clothes there, you wear what you think you would wear. And everything is powered off the consciousness. So if you think I'm wearing a gold suit, you're wearing a gold suit. If you think you're wearing a pink suit, you're wearing a pink suit. But it's built of love, and it's built of the light. And what's really amazing is everything there is light. Here we have this outside sun that reflects light, and that's how we perceive light. There's no outside sun, none. It's all inside, everything. So everything is light there, everything. From the insects, which I had an experience there. Whew. Yeah, like everything there is source light, yeah.
Can we get a drink on our own? Like, can we have a personal, or do you know how to tell us?
So to answer, so the question is, can we have a drink of our own?
Yeah, like,
And let me ask you this. Can I get your fingernails? But can I get my fingernails?
not your drink, but my own.
So to answer that is I'm saying you already have them. And I say them.
How do you tap it? Like, who's give the, like,
Okay.
step?
So one I'm going to do something that I do in some of the courses that I teach is I help you connect to your own team. That is something I do. And something that with that is I help people do it within religion, no matter the religion that they work, or a-religious even. But we're all divinely connected to source, all of us. And again, to answer that, it's like kind of answering, can I have your fingernails? No, because you have yours, I have mine, right? We all have that. Since my experience, I've never seen, and I actually can't see that. I've almost never seen someone who didn't have a lot of spirits with them. There has been a few times where I've seen someone completely lost in some type of intoxication or drug, but not like a one-time thing. This would be like decades, and they're on the streets, and the only souls around them are only angels and not ancestors anymore. And with them, it's because their own soul has left. And the only thing that's left is just the energy of the body. Yeah. But yes, definitely, we all have teams. Okay, so let's do something real quick. I want you to give yourself a vitality score right now, okay? So vitality score says how I'm feeling today. 0 would be the worst ever, and 10 would be the best ever, okay? Or 11. Let's say 0 to 10, 10 best ever, 0 worst. Give yourself a score in your own mind. How am I feeling today? So check that number, okay? Check that number. And now we're going to do 2 breaths. And I want you to breathe a very specific way. What this breathing does is it allows your soul and your body to start aligning instead of fighting, because they're made to align. I mean, what happens if you drive a car without aligned tires? It breaks the car and it ruins the tires, right? And it's the same with us. So this breathing, it will definitely move you up the scale, Some of us may be a lot, some of us only a little, but it will move us up the scale and help us feel more connected and more vital. So that vital score, that vitality score will go up, okay? So the way this works is you all close your eyes, okay? And then you're going to close your eyes. You're going to do a big, deep inhale with your eyes closed, only through your nose. So you inhale through the nose where it's possible. Some people might not be possible. But inhale deeply through the nose, and then you're going to do a tight, controlled exhale through the mouth. Almost like when you were a kid and you'd squirt water out of your mouth. You exhale like that, okay? So let's do it together. So we'll inhale at 3, 2, 1. Inhale. And a second one. Okay, and then when you're done, go back to the scoreboard. Give yourself a new score. How are you feeling? How are you thriving now? When you're ready, open your eyes. And be honest, whose scores went up? Most of us. It's sometimes we're driving our life in the driver's seat, hugging the steering wheel, like freaking out, trying to go, do I go right? Do I go left? Oh, wait, do I go reverse? No, do I go right? Do I go left? And that angsty energy is anxiety. And sometimes our greatest tool is to relax, sit back in the seat, and bring space. So Spirit calls that breathing, to me, they call it Yahweh breathing. And Yahweh, one of the first meanings of Yahweh is the consciousness of breath. And so our very breath has consciousness. But when we're stressed, our cortisol's up, we're breathing shallow, and we're not taking deep breaths. So something so simple as getting a few Yahweh breaths every day, maybe before you start the car, maybe before you get up and make breakfast, maybe before you go to bed. A simple act of bringing that consciousness space into your world, there's things that will step into that space. And it's the Creator. Angels are only workers for our Creator. Our ancestors, also workers for our Creator. It's just allowing them a space to connect. And then one day you realize, I wasn't even driving the car. I have this fake steering wheel in the back seat, and God's always been driving the car. Yeah. Kind of like Maggie Simpson.
You mentioned in your experience that you realized these people in your life hadn't been villains. They had been people who were volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go a little deeper into that? Because
So,
I think it's a beautiful concept. Instead of looking at everybody as opposition, it's all kind of part of a unified growth.
So I had a year, this was about 5 years ago, where I needed to really allow myself to own my journey. And in doing that, I had to go back and reflect on what I had learned in the experience about my trauma. And part of that, and I'm not saying that you have to accept this, but for me, I was able to see my life contract and that I needed an anvil and a hammer and a furnace to turn me into the blade that I was going to be. And that I didn't have anyone who would play that for me. So I recruited 3. I recruited those 3 to be the anvil that I was beat on, to be the hammer that did the beating, and to be the furnace that cooked and hardened the steel. That all happened because I recruited them. And, saying that to an abused little child, that doesn't make sense, right? But on the healing journey, when we're older and we can process that, there's a way we can go in and actually offer forgiveness to our assailants, if we want to call them that, to our abusers. But the forgiveness is, we offer it to them. We don't care if they accept it or not. It's like we're letting go of that dark energy so that we don't have to let go of it there. And eventually we have to let go of it. I mean, all of this life is orchestrated. It doesn't seem like it, but it is divinely orchestrated. And I saw specifically my villain was a very close soul to me that volunteered to play that role for me. And it couldn't be just somebody random. Had to be somebody who truly loved me at a soul level. Now in this world, you'd be hard pressed to find even a single instance of world love shown. But in soul love, I love that person. And the forgiveness has helped me more than it could have ever helped them. Most times they don't even remember what they did. Yeah. Did that answer it for you? Yeah. Any other questions?
What is your perspective on religion now? And are you a member of a specific religion and active in a specific religion?
I am. Oh yeah. So I was just asked if I'm a member of a religion and my perspective on religion. So I have studied extensively Buddhism, but I'm not Buddhist. I have carried with me some of those principles, but those principles overlap into my Christianity. And for me, a lot of people ask, why don't you go out there and say, you're Christian, you're Christian, you're Christian. To me, my primary angel is Archangel Michael, or Archangel Michael, that's how they say it. He says, the true Christian doesn't broadcast they're Christian, they show that they're Christian in their actions. And so to me, I don't do the bumper sticker, I do the actions. And for me, I have gone to so many churches over the years, Christian churches. In fact, one of my old jobs before I died was to put roofs on churches, like all over the United States. So I've lived in 35 states of the United States and put roofs on churches in those 35 states. Every different denomination out there. And I do idealize with the structure and the principles of the dominant faith in this state. And so, I feel that religion can be a ladder or a cage. It's not the religion that causes it to be one or the other, it's us. And we can let it be a ladder for us and connect to our Creator using the religion, but it's also not exclusive. Like, God wants to have that personal relationship with us. So we need to find something that sings to our soul. And when we can find that singing to our soul, that's what we need to embrace. Because the soul is programmed for specific things. And when we find it and we embrace it, we actually start loving us the way our Creator does. Magical things happen. And if that's Buddhism, awesome. Hinduism, awesome. Islam, awesome. Judaism, awesome. I do embrace principles from almost all faiths in what I do. And the work that I do every day, I work with people of every single faith except for Satanism. Haven't worked any with them. But they don't go looking for help from guys like me. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to do 2 more, then we have to wrap up, right? No? Oh, what does that mean? Oh, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'll just go in the bottle. I'll turn around. Okay, I'll go right here.
What has it been like as you recognize that love is everything and the relationships with people are kind of the whole point, and going back into a world where that is so not dominant? How have you kept yourself focused on that? Like, is it still difficult for you, or do you think it's easier for you?
I am so human. Heck yeah. Like I wake up every day. Oh yeah. Say it one more time really quick so I say it right.
How do you basically be patient and be a good person with others with what you've learned? Like, has it made it easier or harder?
How do I be patient with others and follow what I learned and keep that patience with others? It is, we still have this human side to us, right? That's our body side. And then we have our soul side. And what we're here to do is figure out how to balance both, right? Because what happens if you only serve the soul and you never serve the body? You're out of here pretty quick, right? What happens if you only serve the body and you never serve the soul? You go into modeling, bodybuilding, or Hollywood. I'm just kidding. So it's like, I have human moments every day. I'm very blessed to have like a congregation to talk to me when I'm having my human moments. But it feels a little bit like a curse because you can't claim ignorance on anything. Because they'll call you out on it. They're always calling me out on stuff. In a loving way, though. Yeah, not in an egoic way. Does that make sense? Yeah. It is funny, though, on earth, they take all the heavenly principles and they make like a cheap, disposable copy of it. And that's what they call principles here. Like the word love, okay? Anyone who says that they love something, I love testing that love with a conversation and helping them see where real love is compared to what they are calling love, right? The world has a lot of things they call love. But what the world calls love is only worship. People here on earth, they worship each other. They worship teams, sports cars. They worship goals even. And really, it's not a missed opportunity to do that. It's just there's so much more. And what you find is I've worked with people literally all over the world, thousands, and I have individuals that you would consider at the top of their career, people that could go out and buy $150 million property and put it on a credit card, okay? And they're miserable. So they started climbing that ladder thinking, well, if I do this, then I'm going to be happy. Well, then if I do this, then I'm going to be happy. They keep shifting that goal, but guess what? They had the opportunity to be happy when it started. It's a choice. It's an embracement. And it's like if you can't love what you have now, you'll never be able to love what you want tomorrow. So learn how to take a breath and love what you have right now. Yeah.
Did everybody believe your story as far as like your family, or did you have to reject your?
The important ones do.
And how do you deal with that? You're just like, I don't care.
Well, oh yeah, sorry. You know what they say, two petards. Just kidding. No, so the question is, does it bother me when people don't believe the experience? It actually bothers the people around me. It doesn't bother me. It's like if you've ever had a child, and you've held that child in your arms, and you have felt that the love you have for that child, and then someone walks up to you and says, you don't have a child. You're like, yeah, I do. And my experience is like a child. There's no convincing me otherwise. I recorded on a major Christian TV network. And right at the very end, they tried to coach me to change my experience so that it fit their paradigm. And I wouldn't do it, and they cut the feed live. And I'm cool with that. It doesn't bother me. I think that everyone needs to have their right to love or hate the experience. I love it if they love it or hate it. You know why? I've had people 2 years after they like chew me out and say, I'm crazy and I'm going to call the mental health hospital and they're going to come pick you up. And I had one guy that his wife loved the book. He hated the book. He wouldn't read it. She was always trying to read it to him and he hated it. 2 years later, I was here up north in Salt Lake, and he comes to an event crying and like hugging me. And I go, wait, do you have a twin brother? And he goes, I hated you because I didn't know that my soul knew my wife was going to be going soon. And now when he misses her, he goes and reads the parts that she would read to him, and he has all these parts she was constantly trying to shove it down his throat. So now what he was cursing, he now does when he's really missing her. Yeah. So to me, I think we all need that option to reserve the right to believe or disbelieve anything. I know that when something speaks to your heart, that's when you need to start listening. And if it speaks to your heart and you don't believe, okay, that's your journey. But if you keep doing that, you're never going to find happiness. Yeah.
I confess I haven't read the book, but I will. So why you? Why do you think that you got to have this experience? And then, sorry, my second part is, how did you change after this experience as a person?
Well, oh yeah, thank you, thanks. So why me? Why did the experience happen to me? And how did I change? Or have I changed since the experience? And I have, actually. I've gotten better and better at aligning with what I learned, but it's kind of like getting some good coaching as a kid, and you're still trying to match that coaching as an adult. That's to me what it feels like. The question of why me, I was asking that the whole time I was in heaven. Why me? And then when I was cast out of heaven, when I was like rejected, my heaven visa was expired. I said the same thing. Why me? Why curse me? I really felt it was a curse in the beginning. It's almost like someone taking you outside and teaching you that you've always known how to fly, you just forgot about it. You've always been able to go anywhere you want in the universe, you just forgot about it. And they give you 3 days to do that. And then they say, get back on the ground, you can never do that again. That's what it felt like, but worse. I have better ways of describing it too, like handcuffs and cages. But I did ask why me, and it was 6 years ago. There's a place in Vegas where I live, or I'm moving out of now, but where I live currently, that they do studying people that have had these experiences. And the individual who wanted to check me out, I felt like he was doing it to prove that I was crazy. And I was like, okay, let's do it, And he showed me on his computer screen, like my brain is not the same as a lot of other brains. And then I asked, I'm like, have you ever seen patterns like this, parts of the brain that are lighting up? And he says, yeah, but they're either like getting a gold medal at the Olympics, or they've had a near-death experience. And there's a lot of us, thousands and thousands, maybe even I'd say millions for sure. That, I have connected with the most serene group called the International Association of Near-Death Studies, and been a member now for ever since that very next year. And so for 5, almost 6 years now. And that group, there's a few of us in here that have been to the convention there. It feels like a heaven convention. It does. You see colors, types, creeds, lifestyles, all getting together, loving the crap out of each other for 4 days, for the very reason that a lot of them have been in heaven. But what's neat is the convention is only about 20% experiencers now. And it's huge, still big, with only 20% of the people there experiencers. But what's neat, there's all these second generation experiencers that are classified as spiritually transformative experiences. Yeah. Did that answer it? Yeah? Hey, yes.
Okay, so you came back with serious gifts, and you haven't. Vinny's amazing, and he works with people in such.
Let me get my wallet.
It's life changing. It's an amazing gift, and I kept running into this lady when I was in the temple, and she just walked up to me and she gave me this hug, and then she just spouted all these things that I needed to hear. And I was like, who are you? You're an angel. And she walked away and she turned around and smiled at me and then just like walked away. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And then I kept seeing her again, and turns out she also had a near-death experience, and she will not admit it, but she came back with gifts as well. Can you explain? And I just feel like when you go through that, maybe it's a consolation prize for having to come back to Earth.
I think so, yeah.
Common?
You get the turd cake of having to come back, so they frost it with some gifts, yeah.
Yeah. So is that a thing? I mean, do you find that's pretty common for people?
It is. And, kind of the work that I do is almost any experiencer. If you can get some shared heartbeats, that's what I call it when I work with someone. If you can share heartbeats for a few minutes, you can help get out of them some of their gifts. Yeah. And your guides keep asking, what's this institute? It's the Bigelow Institute. Yeah. That's the one that studies our brains. So they have a big one in Las Vegas, yeah. But they study the brains of anything. But they study specifically a lot of people that have had the experiences.
Well, I don't care what they call it on Earth. I just
No, it's neat. It is fascinating, though.
It is.
From a scientific perspective, it's really neat to go and see the scans of individuals who have had the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely a thing.
And what's also really neat is their next level of study is to study the individual while they're connecting to their spirit team, not just sitting there breathing and reading a book or something.
I would love to watch that.
And the brain lights up even different. Yeah.
I have a question from a friend who can't be here, but she's listening. Hi, Tiffany.
She
Hello,
wanted to know
Tiffany.
more about your experience, like when you were dead. You said that there was a place where we go where we're healed. I'm guessing maybe the pearls, like you were talking about
Yes.
earlier. She wants more detail on that, like just what that's like, and I don't know.
So
More.
it's absolutely amazing. It's built out of pristine love, but yet it's also a garbage can for you, so you can get the garbage off you. And it was really funny. I was in a big group talking about those pearls, and this guy walks up to me. He's like the pearly gate. I was like, oh yeah, it is like a pearly gate, a gate of pearls around that space, so that you can go in and exit the last bits of your trauma, so you can go there. It is built out of love, but while you're focused on the trauma, you can't even see it. All you can see is it's weird, but anger and fear is the same energy. When we put the energy towards the past, we call it anger. When we put that energy towards the future, we call it fear. And those are really big, big motivators here for us. And some of us, it takes a little while in one of those pearls. I mean, the gentleman that I saw there had to have been there for close to 100 years in our time. But he didn't know. He didn't know. He was just getting every last word out of him. And when he did, though, he took this really big, deep breath. And it was awesome because as he took that breath, he's like, whoa. And he just had this like excited light on his face. And then instantly, these angels came in. And then it's like, boom, he was gone. So they had taken him into heaven. Yeah. It's almost like all of us are actually already in heaven. We're allowing part of our consciousness here. And it's able to get back there when we finally let go of what we're attached to. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Save time, if there is such thing. Yeah.
So you say that this earth is a reward and a playground. Sometimes I don't feel that.
You know what? Oh, so did they hear that one probably? Yeah, okay. So sometimes it feels like a punishment. Sometimes it feels like a reward. But when you connect to that higher dimension that's right here with us, I have watched car accidents right in front of me and saw heaven's support around it and wrote down the experience, wrote down everything I saw because it was absolutely miraculous. And part of my journey was after my experience, I saw horrific things. I lived in Cambodia during a civil war, saw a lot of dead people in that. I had a best friend hung in front of me because he was the wrong race. And why God would let me see all that. And part of me having it out with God, I go, let me see the gall darn guy who wrote this contract, and I could only find my name. And Spirit let me go back and see those experiences, but see it from a new perspective of how heaven was supporting and what the lesson there was to learn for everyone involved. Yeah. It's just perspective. That's the difference. It's like you can raise your kids with love, or you can raise them with firmness, right? But you can also raise them with firm love, right? It's just all perspective. Wait, there was one more. I skipped over you a couple times now. Do you want to do yours real quick?
Well, it kind of, her question kind of sparked, synced in with mine, so I was going to ask. My question was that we all have our interpretations of how we see or feel our guides, type of thing. Like some of us see it visually, some here, and some feel right here. And I was going to ask you, how do you interpret or have conversations with your guides and your spirits and stuff? But it sounds like from that, you have like a fifth sense or something like that you can actually see more.
So,
did you know this before you had your incident when you died?
I've learned it now. I had it before. I had a version of it, but we all do.
Okay.
We all have that in us, and we can turn it on, we can turn it off. Yeah, it's kind of like a good example that Spirit showed me a few years ago is imagine you're walking in a hallway, okay? And there's a bunch of apartments. You walk past one of these apartments and you smell spaghetti, right? And you keep walking. Well, after you walk past that door, you can allow your mind to go back and examine that smell, and you can pick out, oh yeah, they've got garlic in there. Yeah, they've got olives in there. They've got Parmesan, rosemary. Like you can pick out what ingredients are in that spaghetti. You caught just the tiniest of glimmer that someone was cooking spaghetti, right? And you can pull that info out. And that's what it is. It's just allowing a loving examination of this experience here. And it's really cool because right as you said that, there's a dove that landed on that power line right there. And the dove is one of the symbols universally for peaceful energy or spirit energy. And right as soon as I said it, it flies away. So it's funny, in religion, what we call the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit is the physical love, the eternal love that our Creator has for us. And any being that is acting in that love, we can perceive as Holy Spirit or Holy Spirits. Yeah.
But you can actually, when we were talking about the accidents and stuff, you could actually see the guys around.
If I turn that on, yeah.
Okay.
I do have to flip over to that side of my brain, yeah. But it's kind of like, remember who you were when you were a little child, and you'd sit down and have a tea party, or you'd build a cabin out of rocks and sticks, and in your mind, you were seeing like little things going on as a child. It's the imagination or the eye to the Magi-nation that's built into you. And when you plug that into the love our Creator has, then you actually can access real stuff. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, when you connect with other people who have had near-death experiences, is the experience that you've each had more alike or more different? Like, are there a lot of differences in the experiences that you had in your near-death experience?
Well, I love that you asked that. I have a very scientific brain myself. That's why I struggled a lot with accepting it. I struggled so much because I needed to see a physical bridge built of how that was possible. And the world was only bridging that with like craziness and all sorts of disorders, right? But when I meet someone who's had an experience, and I've interviewed a few, Lissa and I and Lynn have interviewed a few on our podcast, I've noticed that about 90% of them have experienced very close to all of these specific points, like the love, that light is sourced inside the things in heaven, having some type of divine figure guiding you through the process, lots of different names attached to those divine figures. And it's very common. It's about 90% common. Now, a weird little side note is about 10% of experiences experience hell. But that 10% almost exclusively did not have any death. They were dying. And I do feel that the dying aspect, especially when it's self-induced from drugs or a suicide action, that does feel like hell because you're transitioning, right? But in 100% of these cases, 100% of them, the first moment they reached out for deity with their consciousness, deity showed up and they were out of that place. So having that personal relationship with our deity, our Creator, is fundamental for us having this connection in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. That's kind of a long-winded answer, but did that answer it? Yeah.
Question now. In your book, it's on page 100. You talk about truth, like religions having truth and how they all have a little bit of truth. But I'm wondering if you think that there is a religion that has all truth.
Yeah. Love.
So the religion of love?
Yes. And you can follow that religion in any other religion. Yep. But what's weird, in a lot of really good religions, there's the opposite of God, and it's the fear religion. Like you can, just like with parenting, your kids may get up and make their bed because they love you and they love them, or they may get up and make their bed because they're scared you're going to beat the crap out of them if they don't, right? To me, I don't think making the bed's that important, right? To or anything to ever hurt a child, but like we are motivated by love or fear. And we can use that motivation. And those are the true only two religions, love and fear. And all these things we call religions here, or religions. So a legion means a collection or gathering, and a religion means like to regather. All of the religions are just different ways to experience God, all of them. And here's what's neat though. If you go into a Baskin Robbins and you want to get some ice cream, and a reporter catches you before you go through the door, and they ask you, what's the best flavor in there? What are you going to tell them? You got to go taste all the flavors. And then you can say, well, my favorite is this. The one that I like is this, right? But is there any one that is the best? No, because we have to hold prejudice in our heart we have to hold prejudice in our heart, not love, prejudice, to legion ourselves on one side of a fence and anyone else on the other. That's why Christ himself, who is the greatest teacher to me, gave us the prodigal son. We can be the bad son, the prodigal son, make all the mistakes, and have this loving Father, Creator, save us, right? Save us, make up the mistakes, but not until we're willing to come home humbly, right? Or we can be the Pharisaical, Sadduceical, good son, who's like, what the heck, Dad? Why are you offering this to him? And Dad says, where I once thought my son was gone, he has returned. So kill the fatted calf, put a ring of wealth on his hand, and bring him the finest jacket we have, and put it upon his shoulders. So even when our mistakes have brought complete soul poverty into our life, God's not done. God will never give up on us, ever. There's an eternity. That's the whole idea of eternity. Yeah.
Sorry for the question, but I'm curious because you mentioned you lived with this goal-oriented mindset beforehand, like you're chasing money, you're chasing like the worldly things. Have you struggled with integrating where you like live in the world but not of the world? And how do you even live in ambition and want to create things like success, money, all these things that we kind of need to live here while still honoring that? Because I think it's challenging.
It's a balance. It's for sure a balance because you do need to honor that you volunteered for this experience here. So don't run away from it. It's like we can use this experience to learn how to create. I mean, if we wanted to build a building right there, we would enlist an architect and an engineer and then contractors to actually build it. There's a lot of steps, right? But if we really want it, and we can find the resources eventually to do it, right? That's how creation works here, but it starts first with our thoughts, right? So that building had to be an idea first before it could ever be a physical building, right? Well, on the other side, in the eternal realm, with our Creator, if you want a building, it's just like, it just forms. And there's no growing of the spiritual muscle in that. That's why we're here. Yeah. It is a process, though. Some days I want to get like a big sweatshirt that says, I don't want a human today. And it's like, there's just some days I'm like, I am done with this world. Especially if I caught some news. Like I don't do the news. I've actually watched my own soul light go down listening to news. So I won't touch it. I love fighting movies, but I can't watch them. Because I used to fight a lot. So that's part of my human, but my soul doesn't love it. But if I wanted to, I could sit there and watch fighting movies all day and my body would win out. And I'd only be doing body urge stuff, right? But I do try to always balance and honor the body voice that's in me and say, okay, I see this is what you want. You know, is there something deeper? Do I need to look a little deeper, get some healing going? Or is it just that? And then still go the path of my soul. Yeah. But that's why we're here. It's all about that balance. Yeah.
I'm not about to make you repeat yourself, but what advice would you give to anyone that is trying to recognize and grow their own spiritual gifts?
So the biggest thing is to accept that it already exists. Okay? So I want you to close your eyes. Everybody close your eyes for just one moment. And I want you to think back to your own life where out of nowhere, you did something very out of the ordinary and you didn't know why. Okay? Everyone think of this experience. Maybe it was text someone, send them a message, call them, or maybe it was go over to this part of town and you didn't even know why. Now I want you to think of the outcome of what you did and see heaven's hand in it. That heaven was already guiding you. Heaven was already guiding you. Andrea, my wife, go ahead and open your eyes. Andrea, my wife, she was driving down this street one day and all of a sudden just pulls into this little parking lot for the VFW, for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And it was one of their lodges. And she's like, why did I pull in here? And right after that, a car was running from police and went plowing through like 25 cars. And it was all the cars she was in line with. And it's like, it doesn't make sense, right? But she just followed it. She didn't even know why she followed it. But that's a little bit of a bigger one. There was one time I was going up to Jackson Hole, Wyoming from Afton, and it was 3:45 in the morning, and I was going the normal speed limit. It's the middle of winter, and I felt spirit, not my guides, just spirit tell me, hey, bud, slow down. So I slowed down. I went 5 miles under the speed limit. And if I'm not 10 over, I'm slow. I like to go fast. And so I was 5 under the speed limit, and I heard it again. Bud, you need to slow down right now. So I went down to 10 under the speed limit. So going like 50 in a 65, going up the Snake River Canyon. And I heard it again, slow down now. And so I pumped the brakes, and it's the middle of winter, so I started to slide a little, so I let off, but I slowed down safely. And right as I slowed down safely, my truck that I was in with my coworker who was asleep, he got to sleep every morning as we drove. We were coming around this blind corner, and it was very foggy. If you're familiar with the area, that Snake River Canyon fills with fog every morning during the winter. And you could barely see maybe 100 feet in front of your face. But right as we came around that corner, all I could see was it looked like a bunch of trees had just grown up in the middle of the road. And then I could see another car coming the other direction, and as their lights hit what was in front of us, it was an entire herd of elk. And they were stuck on the road. And the way that the snowpack is, it was a straight sheer cliff down to the river, and it was almost a sheer up to the mountain. So those elk had wandered onto the road, and the next car that was going to be going was going to just plow through them. And I know it would have been a death for the elk and possibly the people too. And it's like things like that, listening to that inner voice, not because you're afraid to, listen to it because you know that there's a source that loves you and wants to preserve you here for as long as you're supposed to be here. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have kids, and if so, how do you parent
Very human. Do I have kids and how do I parent them? Well, depends on which kids you ask. I've got two. I've got a 16 and a 5-year-old, and you know, actually, they both know I love them so much. I can proudly say I'm a really good dad. I am. The hard part for me is the balance with all the other stuff, because I instantly just want to give my kids anything they want, and that can actually harm them. So you do have to even check in with Spirit. I do anyway. Check in with Spirit, like, can I give in to them on this? And a lot of times I can. Other times they're like, nope, you got to put your foot down. They got to learn about this. So I use that connection a lot in my parenting. But I'll tell you what, it helps me. In fact, I did this just yesterday. I took my teen, my daughter, for a dad and daughter drive just for like 2 hours, driving around doing nothing but getting sodas and Chick-fil-A. And, you know, I had a really casual but meaningful conversation because Spirit helped me know the questions to ask. And me, the dad, would not have asked any of those questions. I wouldn't have. Yeah. Yeah.
Capabilities, or is it just your own angels? Do you see ours around us?
I'm more of an XL. I'm more of an extra large. Yeah. No. So what's funny is, you know, I get this question actually a lot. Do you believe in mediums? Is there such thing as mediums? Are you a medium? And that's always when I pipe up, no, I'm an extra large. Truly more of a double XL. But, you know, is there mediums? Anytime a child walks up to you on a really bad day and just says a serenely loving thing and then walks away and goes back to play, that child was a medium. That child was a medium of God's love for you. So in a way, we all can be mediums of that love. We also can be mediums of the fear, the human fear. So to me, being a medium is just a conduit, right? And we're all conduits. I mean, everything in your body is conduit. Your muscle tissue is conduit, your blood system conduit, nervous system conduit. Even how your eyeball functions, it's all rods and cones. It's all conduit pieces. Like we're a tubular body. But it's important for us to understand the labels we put on things can sometimes say, I accept or reject them. And medium is one of those names that certain people just will automatically just write it off, throw it away, don't touch it, that's dangerous, right? At the same right, they're allowing evil things to happen in their own home. And because no one's knowing about it, that's okay. To me, every choice is a medium. Every choice. We can get closer to our Creator with every choice, or we can neglect our Creator with every choice. And so to me, medium is something all of us are. Every single one of us. Dogs are mediums, that's for sure. Cats too, some of them, just the good ones.
I think the second half of the question was, if you can see other people's spirits that are on you.
Yeah, but it's a fun process. Takes me a few minutes. So it's kind of like going into a room with a bunch of fog, okay? I can detect, like, let's just use you as a target, okay? Or we won't call you a target, let's call you a friend. Call you a friend, okay? So we'll say you as a friend here, and that we're just plugging into who's your team. Right off the bat, I get like a room full of people just for you. And then what I would need to do to know who that is tune to your frequency. So with a few questions, I would tune myself to what your frequency is, and then I could see the first person to step forward. Yeah. But you have a divine feminine that steps forward in front of all of them. And she says she already talks to you, so yeah. And she says you listen to her most of the time.
Do you dream?
My dreams are crazy. And, most of my dreams are in effigy or in parable to teach me. So sometimes when I'm not listening to my body's voice, I'll have a dream and I'll go back and reflect on it. And my spirit team won't tell me anything about it. And I'm like, come on, guys, help me hack this. Let me unlock it, see what it is. And they let me see where I'm out of balance with my body. And as soon as I correct that balance, then that weird kind of dream goes away. Or I get the message that they're trying to deliver through the dream. Yeah. Dreams are really meaningful, though. Every dream is either your soul speaking, heaven speaking, your subconscious speaking, or your body speaking. So those are the 4 influences of dreams. And sometimes you get all 4 in one dream, and that's the weirdest ones. Yeah.
Have you seen Drake again in any dreams?
I have maybe gone 3 days ever without him right behind me. Yeah.
But not in the dream. It's physically.
I don't need to dream. I just talk to him. Yeah. I'll meditate, and he, like a funny thing, this is just a little peek inside my head. When I meditate and I want to feel his comforting, guiding presence of his image, I see him how I saw his picture in Afton, Wyoming. And he's always like, why do you always see me like that? That's such an old picture. It's like, I'm not that old. He's like, I show myself to you in my 30s. And I'm like, Drake, you show me you with a white beard, though. I don't know too many 30-year-olds with white beards. I do, though. I do reflect on that like very magical experience where I recognized who he was. And it's been kind of a safety line for me as I venture out into this journey of embracing it. Now, here's what's really crazy. I could turn all of this off with one action, one decision. We're in 100% control. We are. We don't have to be afraid of it. That's like saying, are you afraid of the sun? No. But we can block the sun. We can even put poisonous lotions on ourselves to block the sun. But the sun is the sun. We know what the sun is, right? We don't have to be afraid of it. Now, if we're laying out in the sun and we can feel our body burning, yeah, we need to go inside. It's the same thing with spirit work. When you're overextending yourself, listen to all the parts that are speaking and create that balance. Because the balance between heaven and earth, that's where you find being a strong connector with God. Yeah. Because we didn't come here to neglect our body or our soul. Yeah.
So I really don't even know how to ask this, or if it's even a question, but a comment. I flunked heaven. So I had an out-of-body experience, right? I knew where I was. I knew right where I landed. I know the vibrancy you're talking about, the colors, all of it. And I knew I'd made it. I'm like, but then I stood up. I'm like, where's everybody? I thought there were supposed to be people here to meet me, right? No, there weren't. And I was sucked right back into that car that I'd been in before we got hit.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like a failure on all ends. I failed staying. I felt bad, but I do know that I needed to be more loving and kind and all that. So love entered the picture, but that's all I can bring back from that journey.
Yeah, you were supposed to only have a commercial for heaven and not the full experience.
Yeah.
And what's funny is what you were seeing was being shown to you by all of your ancestors standing around you so that you would focus on it. They were all there. They all were there. And here's what's really neat. One particular gentleman, if you go under hypnosis, you can describe him and know who he is. You already know who he is, though. Yep. You can do hypnosis and actually unlock that if you want. You can do waking hypnosis or actually a hypnotherapist. Yeah. I love working with the subconscious because it speaks backwards. And you know, from the subconscious perspective, it's looking down at earth life. We look up at heaven life, right? So when I do subconscious work, where we're working on releasing trauma or allergies, like Susan here was, how is that, by the way? Yeah. So Susan, for how long was it? How long were you allergic to pineapple? Yeah. So she was like really bad allergic to pineapple. But she was smart. She wasn't, you know, necessarily carrying around an EpiPen, but when it first started happening, you were worried about that, right? Like she had a very bad connection to pineapple. And in working with Susan, we were able to find what that was. And it was definitely a trauma. And her subconscious spoke to us backwards. So we just kept doing random word association, and she would say all these words, and then when you look at it going in reverse order, it was her subconscious telling us why she was allergic to pineapple. Yeah. And now we did it so she could go on a Hawaii trip and get the Dole Whips and the pineapple, you know? And she did. Yeah. But she also had the faith to think, yeah, I feel fixed now with that. And she did it right, you know, right away, within like days or weeks from our session. Yeah. 5 minutes? Okay. We got 5 minutes, so one more question. Let me do this. Let me take the last 5 just to express that there's a reason you're here sitting in this seat right now. There's a reason you're here listening to this. And if the one thing you walk away here with today is feeling that heaven is trying to hug you everywhere you are, I want to give you a superpower. When you're struggling in this life, because we're human, we're souls living the human experience. And sometimes we put an expectation of non-human on us. And when you're living in your human and you're feeling bad about it, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to open your eye to your imagination. Open your imagination and imagine that you are your own child. And think about what's going on as if you were your own parent. And would you be as harsh as you're being on yourself? And it gives you an eyelash to the grace and the love that our Creator has for you. That's a powerful thing. I'm very human. I wish I wasn't. But I'm glad I am because of my family. And I say that not just Andrea and my amazing kids, but like all of you are family. We're all family. That when we go out there and we drive away from here, we're driving around our brothers and sisters. And when we see our brothers and sisters and someone maybe you don't even know, and you feel something come on your heart, follow it and go connect to that person and say what comes on your heart. You will watch miracles happen in front of your own eyes. And what's neat is the very miracle you've always been looking for will be you being someone else's miracle. And that's the magic of life. That's the magic of this life. Well, thank you everyone for joining me. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks, Brad, for letting us have this space too.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yes, it's very
Absolutely
cool.
amazing.
Thank you, Vinney. Thank you to each of you for coming, for showing up, for really, truly, it wasn't for Vinney, but you showed up for yourself today. We have a podcast. It's called Living God's Light. If it's something that calls to you, if it doesn't, that's great. But if it does, it's called Living God's Light.
Yeah.
Yep. And yes. And we just interviewed an incredible individual. His name's Lupe. He shared his near-death experience, and it's just amazing. So we talk about a lot of topics that we're dealing with, and it's not
Easy stuff. Easy
yeah,
stuff.
for sure. And it's not just the podcast. We are also trying to build communities. Like, Vinney, he didn't go into any of this, but he saw light cities, and we need to be those light cities where we're at, and building communities. We're trying to do that with our nonprofit, and also education around just all the questions that you have, And so livinggodslight.org, if you feel called to go check it out. And then Vinney has some books that are in the back for sale if you would like one. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll sign them. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody online who showed up.
Thanks everyone online.
Yes, thank you.
You guys are special.
And that's it. We'll wrap. So thank you.
Thanks everyone.